Any dog owner will tell you with the utmost confidence that their pooch's sense of smell is far superior to any human's. All it takes is a brief whiff of something unusual, and they're off to find the origin. Thanks to their dog's incredible sense of smell, some friends who were staying at a cabin for their pal's bachelor party made a startling discovery. It made for quite a surprising trip, and one they wouldn't soon forget. See, one friend in the group brought his dog along for the weekend retreat. But the second they arrived at their destination and stepped out of the car, the dog picked up on some scent. Stunning everyone, she sprinted toward an abandoned metal boat that was nearby. What was in there? It took them in a few minutes to finally catch up with her, but when they did, they noticed she was completely transfixed on the upside-down metal boat. The group tried to coax her away, but she refused to move. The dog was laser-focused on something underneath the metal hull. She kept circling the boat excitedly, and she refused to leave its side. She was trying to dig underneath, but she couldn't quite get deep enough to slide under. Something was in there, but what? The friends were curious to leave the dog alone, so they lifted one side of the boat so she could get underneath. Then, one of the guys peeked his head underneath, and he came face to face with two precious kittens. Their sweet dog had caught the scent of the abandoned kittens, and she refused to go anywhere until she led her human friends to them. The men stared in awe. They couldn't believe what she had discovered. The men had no way of knowing just how long the kittens had been hiding underneath the metal boat. They couldn't tell whether they had been abandoned by human owners or if perhaps their mother had been killed. Regardless how they got there or how long they'd been stranded, both of the precious kittens were in terrific shape. They weren't injured, and they seemed just as spiritly as animals who came from a loving home. The friends were amazed that their dog was quite taken with the pair. Whenever cats and dogs meet, you never really know what the outcome will be. In this case, however, the dog was instantly smitten with the kittens. Her maternal instinct seemed to have kicked in as soon as she laid eyes on them. And the kittens had absolutely no fear of her either. The men watched as both kittens walked up to the dog as if they were longtime friends. The men finally overturned the boat next to where the kittens were sitting. They were both so tiny. Their eyes opened wide as soon as they saw the forest around them. All they wanted to do was take in the epic scenery. It only took a few minutes for their dog to begin treating the kittens as her own. She started licking the cats and bathing them, making sure their fur was ridded of the dirt that had been caked onto their fur. The men knew that if it wasn't for their dog's instincts, the kittens would have most likely died. The guys were miles into the woods, and there would have been no way for a cat to find food. They were too young and too helpless. The men were thankful for the discovery, but it was their dog who was the proudest one of all. It was almost as if she completely understood that she not only found the kittens, but in doing so, she saved them from certain death. Not surprisingly, the friends' weekend plans changed dramatically. They'd brought food and water with them, so they scooped up the kittens and brought them into their cabin so the animals could finally enjoy a proper meal. They prepared a huge bowl of food for their new friends and fed them small scraps of meat. The men had intended on making burgers and hot dogs while they camped, but they quickly realized the meat they brought could be used in a much more valuable way. As it turns out, the kittens were unfortunately abandoned by their mother. The men took them both to a local veterinarian soon after finding them. They wanted to make sure that there were no health issues with their two new precious pals. Luckily, the vet gave the kittens clean bills of health. They were just as amazed as the men were that the kittens were in such good shape considering the circumstances. Soon after the vet visit, two of the friends actually adopted them. It was the perfect ending to an eventful weekend. The men were able to enjoy each other's company, celebrate a bachelor party, and return home with two brand new additions to their group. Mission accomplished, gentlemen. A weekend in the woods and a random discovery of kittens? Now that's a bachelor party.